In this video, I'm going to show you a better way to do Facebook targeting. Now, the technique that I'm about to share doesn't work for every business. It works for most, and for those that can use this technique, it could be an absolute game changer. I'm talking about broad or open targeting. And before I get into the pros and cons of broad or open targeting and explain when you do and don't want to use it, I just want to quickly show you what it looks like in case you're not familiar with the setup. So if I just quickly create an example campaign in an example ad account, I'm just going to create a sales campaign for demonstration purposes. And if we jump over to the ad set level, broad or open targeting is exactly what it sounds like. It is adding in nothing at the targeting area. You obviously enter in your target location. That's important. So you could use broad open targeting at the local level, national level, international level, but you don't add in any age parameter restrictions, any gender restrictions, any detailed targeting options, no interest, behaviors, demographics, no custom audiences, no lookalike audiences, no language criteria. You just leave it open targeting. And the idea is that you're allowing Meta to work out who is the best people for you to be advertising to, who is most likely to take your desired action, go on to purchase, go on to become a lead, etc. That's what this looks like. Now, for those of you that haven't seen or heard about broad or open targeting as a Facebook targeting technique before, this might be quite shocking. You might be thinking, surely you need to add in some information. You need to give Facebook, give Meta a direction in terms of who to advertise to, who's going to be interested in your stuff. That's not always the case. The businesses that can use this, I'm going to get to that in a minute, can see incredible results. There's some real pros associated with broad or open targeting. The first one is that you're obviously going to operate with large audiences, as large as you can possibly get. And we know that all things being equal, larger audiences tend to perform better than smaller audiences. There's a number of reasons for that. It gives Meta more flexibility in terms of when they can show your ads, who they can show them to. If a particular segment of your target audience is really expensive, they can advertise to other people. There's also lots of people that may be interested in what you have to offer, but wouldn't necessarily be included in the interest that you're targeting, because Facebook's just not going to be able to capture everyone within that interested who is actually interested in that thing. These interest demographic behaviors aren't 100% accurate. With broad open targeting, you're allowed to reach those people. With broader open targeting, you're also able to scale campaigns massively. If you can get your campaigns to work well, to produce a really good return on ad spend, you can scale them and you can scale them and you can scale them. If we're running open targeting in the UK, you can see on this right-hand side over here, we're looking at an audience size of 45 to 53 million. In the US, it's going to be 200 million plus. These audiences are absolutely enormous. The scalability is fantastic. With really large audiences, you also run into ad fatigue issues far slower. If you're really detailed targeting and you've got small audiences, you're going to run into ad fatigue issues pretty quickly. You're going to have to constantly be putting new ads in. That's particularly annoying if you've got ads that have been working well. Well, with broad targeting, open targeting, you can just leave them running, scale it. Ad fatigue issues might take years, literally years, in order to present themselves. So there's some real advantages to doing this. It's also often a good idea for Facebook advertisers that aren't experts yet to go with open targeting. That you're far less likely to get something wrong, to over specify, to make your audience too small, or just to miss the mark and use a interest or a behavior targeting option that just isn't appropriate. A lot of Facebook advertisers, particularly beginners, get that wrong. They completely jeopardize their campaigns. With open targeting, that's far less likely. So those are the reasons why you would want to use open targeting, and they're pretty compelling, but there are some negatives, there are some cons associated with this as well that I need to cover. So firstly, it can take Facebook Meta a long time to work out who within this enormous audience that you're giving them is actually likely to take your desired actions, actually likely to purchase, actually likely to become a lead. If you're giving Facebook an audience of 500,000 people, or you're giving Facebook an audience of 200 million people, they're usually going to find the right people within that smaller audience much faster. So you can get worse results initially, you can see an extended learning phase, and of course with these massive audiences, sometimes Meta just does not work it out. We've launched campaigns using open targeting, and we just had a feeling that even though there's all these audience options and there's testing going on and the learning phase has happened, that just the right audience has not been found within this massive audience. We've switched over to more specific, more detailed targeting and seen better results. That doesn't always happen, but can happen. Is something you need to be aware of if you're going to use broad targeting, or at least test it, that may well be the case in your ad account. And along those lines, open targeting doesn't seem to work as well if what you offer is fairly specific and fairly niche. If it's something that's relatively hobbyist, that only people that are interested in that specific hobby are likely to be interested in purchasing, signing up for whatever it is, however your sales cycle works. If it's really quite specific, if it's like, some sort of fishing equipment and only people that go fishing, and perhaps only people that go fishing for a certain type of fish in a certain setting, whether it's fly fishing or whatever, are going to be interested in that, well, open targeting is probably not the best option in those scenarios, because only a tiny percentage of the people that could see the ads are actually even going to be interested in the slightest. With those more specific options, we do find that adding in detailed targeting options works better. And that of course leads me into, when do you want to use open targeting and when do you not want to use open targeting? As I said at the beginning of the video, this targeting technique can be an absolute game changer, but not for every business. There's only certain businesses that can use this and see fantastic results. So if your product or service has broad appeal, the opposite of what I just described about something being really niche, really specific, if there's lots of people within the population you're going to be targeting that are likely to be interested in whatever it is, anything to do with health and fitness, anything to do with the home, anything to do with career success, these are all things that have very, very broad appeal. Open targeting can work well. There's obviously other options, things like food, lots of retail products like apparel, jewelry. These are things that have really broad appeal across the population. So that's the first box that you want to tick when you're trying to decide whether or not to use open targeting. The second one is how much conversion data has already accrued in your ad account. If you've got a brand new ad account, open targeting doesn't work so well. In order for Meta to be able to work out who within this massive audience you're giving them is likely to purchase, likely to become a lead, etc., it's much better if there's a good amount of data on who takes those sorts of actions, who does purchase, who does become a lead within your ad account. So ideally, you would have at least 500 to 1,000 conversions registered in your ad account before you start to use open targeting. And of course, the more conversions, and I say conversions, not everyone can optimize for conversions, so let's just say results. The more results that you have in your ad account, the better. So an ad account with 10,000 conversions is going to perform better with open targeting usually than an ad account with 1,000. An ad account with 100,000 conversions or 500,000 conversions is better and better. It's simply because more data puts more information into Meta's machine learning process, which helps them deliver a better result, find the specific people within this massive audience you're giving them that are the best prospects to advertise to. So the more data in your ad account, the better. And if you tested open targeting, broad targeting, it didn't work in the past, and you think back and you think, oh yeah, I only had 20 conversions in the ad account, but you've got a whole bunch more now, or you will do in the future, try retest. You may well be pleasantly surprised with what happens with the more data being in your ad account. Open targeting may also be the best option if the area that you're advertising in, there's not that many people in there to begin with. So let's say you're a local business. For almost all local businesses that we advertise, we will have an ad set that is set with open targeting. Because if their total area, the total number of people that live within the area that this company operates in is, say, 200,000 people, well, we don't want to narrow that down and make that more specific. That's already plenty small enough. There are also scenarios where you might be advertising to a whole country, but that whole country might just not have that larger population, in which case, if a country that you're advertising in has only got, let's say, less than 10 million people, an option for your targeting could be open targeting, just advertise to the whole country, because it's just not a huge amount. If you're operating in a country with a much larger population, maybe that's less important. But with smaller population countries and definitely local businesses only advertising in a certain area, we will nearly always use open targeting, even if the product or service is fairly niche and more specific. We will still try this broader approach. So if you do meet those criteria I mentioned, I would certainly recommend giving open targeting a go. You've very little to lose by testing it, and it could be an absolute game changer, could really help improve the results of the campaigns that you're running right now. It could also provide a really great path to massive scalability. We've seen that with so many ad accounts. Give it a go and let me know how it goes in the comments. And before you go, there's something I want to quickly mention, and that's my company, Lead Guru Specialist Facebook and Instagram Advertising Services. We're a specialist agency. We create, manage, and optimize Facebook and Instagram ad campaigns for our clients. If you're interested in finding more, there's a link in the video description. You can click on that, book a call with a team member, find out more information, no obligation, of course. And maybe we get a chance to work together. And whether or not you decide to test open targeting, it's also important to run other ad sets with detailed targeting options and test those to see which performs best. To do that effectively, you need to know how to find inexpensive and low competition target audiences. I show you exactly how to do that here. There's a free tool that almost no one knows about, but can be really, really helpful for finding those less competitive, inexpensive target audiences. Go ahead and check it out.